So now that we've done with the inventory, uh, we'll kind of have a little pop quiz here in this paragraph. It says, having made a personal inventory, what shall we do about it? We've been trying to get a new attitude, a new relationship with our Creator, and discover the obstacles in our path. Does the inventory process, as we laid it out, does it do that? Could you find some obstacles in your path? Your relationship with God, resentment, fear, behaviors that's uncontrollable, any of those things, trouble with personal relationships, emotional nature, misery, depression, those kind of things. Have we admitted certain defects? Did you find any defects, any lacks, wants, or needs that is essential to our being complete? Was there anything in my inventory that makes me incomplete? No.
What do you mean?
Y'all got a way better inventory than I have. A defect. Do we find any defects? And that's real important because it does say we have ascertained in a rough way what the trouble is. Do you find that in inventory? We have put our finger on the weak items in our personal inventory. And then it says something that is miraculous. It says, now these are about to be coped with. That's not what it says. It says, now these are about to be cast out. Do you believe that the weak items in your inventory can be cast out? And it doesn't say rearranged or dealt with or any of those kinds of things. It does say cast out. This requires action on our part, which when completed will mean that we have admitted to God, to ourselves. Oh, good Lord. That was mine. Where was that? My defect was not turning my phone off. Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our defects. This brings us to the fifth step in the program of recovery mentioned in the preceding chapter. This is perhaps difficult, especially discussing our defects with another person. We think we have done well enough admitting these things to ourselves. Are you willing to admit these things to another person? Your defects. Sort of, maybe.
Some. Some of it just can't be denied. Yeah.
It says, we think we've done well enough to admitting these things to ourselves. There's doubt about that. In actual practice, we usually find a solitary self-appraisal insufficient. Many of us thought it necessary to go much further. We will be more reconciled to discussing ourselves with another person when we see a good reason why we should do so. The best reason first. If we skip this vital step, we may not overcome drinking. Do you want to overcome drinking? That's be one question. I mean, you've came this far. Obviously, you've got some willingness. Do you believe that hanging on to these things will cause you to drink? Yeah. Anybody got any experience with any of that? Time after time, newcomers and old timers tried to keep to themselves certain facts about their lives, trying to avoid this humbling experience. They have turned to easier methods. Almost invariably, they got drunk. Having persevered with the rest of the program, they wondered why they failed. We think the reason is that they never completed their house cleaning. They took inventory all right, but hung on to some of the worst items in stock. They only thought they had lost their egoism and fear. They only thought they had humbled themselves. What is egoism? A practical definition is trying to fix things on my own power through personal or physical or mental effort. That doesn't encompass egoism, but it's certainly a good for me to use. They only thought they had humbled themselves, but they had not learned enough humility, fearlessness, and honesty in the sense we find it necessary until they told someone else all their life story. Can you do that? Can you tell someone your whole story, everything? More than most people, the alcoholic leads a double life. Have you been leading a double life? He's very much the actor. To the outer world, he presents his stage character. This is the one he likes his fellows to see. Where does that one come from? Where does that character come from? The one I want you to see.
Trying to run the show.
Comes from my ego. So here's a really good question that I've been asked a few times. Is Mark, who is it that took the inventory that you have written? Is it the mind-made sense of self? Or is it the spiritual you? That's a tough question. The mind-made sense of self. This character that I want you or I want the world to see, is that the one? You know, there's a couple of ways you can use inventory. One of them is to strengthen my idea about myself. The other one is to tear it down. Do what?
Mind-made sense of self. What's the other?
Oh, the spiritual me. Spiritual self. Does anybody, can you relate to that? Can you write inventory from a place of ego?
Not an efficient one, but I mean, yeah, you can do it.
You ever work with anybody that's worked with people who write really long, lengthy inventories, but never really get to anything?
Yeah. Their part in it. Absolutely. He's not sober.
Yeah, they will hardly stay sober.
It's pretty, but the meat wasn't there.
Yeah. So that's my ego writing inventory.
But how do you, if it's not you yourself doing it, and you are talking about somebody who you're at the table with doing it, how do you help?
You give them something they couldn't possibly understand or answer. That's how. You have to open our job if you're going to help somebody, regardless of who it is, if you're going to guide them through this, you have to open their mind.
How do you do that?
Well, by asking them these questions. Ask them who wrote that inventory. Who was the person, and just describe that person. Describe the person that wrote that.
Give them a question they can't answer.
Yeah, there's no way you're going to know the answer to it if you hadn't done this I mean, Carl was forevermore giving me shit I couldn't understand, so that I was, and two, I would say at the time, yes, I understand it. I understand it. And then I would get down the road and I couldn't even remember the damn question because it was so far beyond me. I couldn't even remember what was that you said. And that might take 3 or 4 visits, and that might take 3 or 4 months for me to make those visits. So I would write that down, and he would ask the question, who's writing the inventory? Are you writing this inventory to strengthen your idea of yourself? Or are you trying to get to some real truth? And, when I was new, a big part of my inventories were me justifying how they did me wrong. I could twist that any way you wanted, but once I met Carl, that wasn't happening. No, we're not going to do that. And I'll, travel around. I'd get sponsors in other places. And some of those I could look back and see how I manipulated that. I would literally manipulate that because I'd gotten so slick at it, not really touching anything. So inventory is designed to discover the things that block me. What blocks me? Self. If self's writing out, if I'm not doing that from a place of spirit, then, and it does say, was it thoroughness and honesty is the only thing that counts. Me being dishonest and not thorough, that it doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. They're not judging me. They're saying it just don't count. It's just not going to work. Does that make any sense to anybody? Yeah.
How do you know which one to do?
By asking that question. Ask that question and ask who, and think to yourself, who was writing that inventory? What was the character, this character that was writing that inventory? And if it's the real you, then it's you. If it's the spiritual you, then it's you. You really are seeking to find what blocks you from this power. If it's not, then like I say, I've got this written down here to prove that they've done me wrong.
When you were talking about the cast of characters, the theater of the lie characters.
Right.
So my Miss AA could be the one writing the inventory.
That's right.
Not the real spiritual.
You bet. Yeah. Mr. Businessman, he's writing that inventory, how that's the reason he's not doing well at business, when really I'm just not a very good businessman. That's really the fact of it, or like you say, Miss AA or Mr. AA writing inventory. Those are characters we want you to see. And I'll even put it on paper and bring it to you until somebody breaks that little glass bubble I'm in. You're going, that ain't who's doing that. Does that make sense to you? Because these people in this room, you're going to be working with doctors and lawyers and all kinds of really smart people. So how do you gain their attention? How are you going to do that? By humility, but you have to open their mind. You have to talk to them about something they couldn't possibly understand. Bring your experience. They can't possibly understand that if they're new. You can't possibly understand it. One of the great things about the book of Alcoholics Anonymous is that it opens my mind. It doesn't matter how long I've been sober or how damn smart I am or think I am. It will literally open my mind. If I go through this and they say, well, these words have changed. Well, what's actually going on is I've changed and the words mean something different. And there's a whole different question there. What do you mean character? What do you mean the stage character? Who am I playing here? Mr. Big Book expert, Mr. Know-it-all. I'm all of those people, and many, many more. we got to find those, because see, um, those are the things that separate me from you. They separate me. And then when I'm separated, I can't keep from having an identity. We talked about with someone earlier. I mean, if I'm separate, if I feel separate, if I have a resentment, its job is to separate me from you. Well, if I'm separated from you, I'm damn sure not anonymous. Comes with an identity that I'm trying to play this stage character here. So that's something to look for. If this is your first time through there, you're not going to find that without help. I mean, I certainly couldn't, even when asked to. So this is the one he likes his fellows to see. He wants to enjoy a certain reputation, Mr. AA, but knows in his heart he doesn't deserve it, because I didn't do shit but show up and drink lots of whiskey and screw over lots of people. That was my part. Yes, be a little bit willing. Take some steps and go to some meetings and do a few things, but really the thing that brought recovery to me was a miracle. The inconsistency is made worse by the things he does on his sprees. That could be an emotional spree too, or a spree of anger. Coming to his senses, he revolts at certain episodes he vaguely remembers. These memories are a nightmare. He trembles to think someone might have observed him or found me out that I'm really not Mr. AA and I didn't do anything great other than stumble around in here. Or stumble into a business deal that made a little money, or stumbled into a relationship that kind of seems to be working, those kind of things, you know. If it weren't for the grace of God, none of those things would be working. He hopes they will never see the light of day. He is under constant fear and tension. That makes for more drinking. So if I'm trying to hold up some kind of bullshit reputation, there's going to be a little tension involved there. And that just sticks out. He's going to be something for you to threaten. In my whole inventory, if I've done this inventory up to this point, that's what's really sticking out. You can't help but push my button because it's all the way out here. If you get anywhere near me, you're going to push that button and you're going to threaten that identity, who I am, and I'm going to be mad. Does that make sense or no?
So, like, I have this thing, I have this fear of how people feel about me, right? So whenever I come around people that have a lot of time, or they have, I feel like I always put people up here, right? So whenever I'm killing another man, I got all this stuff where I think that I'm worried about how people feel about me and all this other stuff, and it just keeps on bogging me down. So I've always keep this ego where I can try to stay up here whenever I know people.
That's the wrong question. The correct question is, why do you think you're down here? It's probably because I don't want to take responsibility for my recovery. I don't want to show up. I don't want to take responsibility for having to write this out from a place of defeat. I mean, that's just me. I'm just saying. But you see how that I could get way off track over here. How do I see them different? No, who am I in this thing? I see me as way down here. If I see them up there, I got to be down here. There's no other place to be. So the question is, why am I down here? Why do I not merit recovery? Why do I not, I think some power greater than myself withholding recovery from me and giving it to them? And then, I mean, these are identities, man. That's what that is. And you know, the very first day I met Carl, when he said, this is a statement of the problem, Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a statement of the solution. I had no idea what a powerful statement that is until I get to some of this stuff. I mean, I knew it was something I didn't understand, but I had no idea that I thought he was really, I didn't believe him. I didn't believe that's not the solution. Stopping drinking is the solution. And then I'm left with all this inventory year after year after year after year, and it seems like, these faces change and yet it's the same thing.
But doesn't the identity, I mean, it has an appropriate place.
Certainly it does.
So it's not like we completely just to get rid of it. But when we're doing the inventory,
You can get free of it.
yeah.
It doesn't own me. You see, if it's correct, when I go to bed at night, I'm there by myself, or I'm not 50 people going on in my head, Remember when we talked about the role we were assigned, how I know if it's a role I've assigned myself or a role that God has assigned me to play. If I've assigned it to myself, I'm going to attach to it. I'm going to hang on to it, and I'm going to start to love it. And then I'll build a story around it to justify it. And that's not the role God has assigned me. If he assigns me a role, I can go to work, play that role, and I don't have to bring that home. It's a role I play. No. Yes, if I'm playing the role that I've assigned myself, I will attach to that role. I won't be able to lay it down when I go to the next thing. If it's a role that I'm assigned, I will be. I'll be free of it, free of those identities. And don't forget, I'm playing a role. It's not who I am. When I go to work, I'm playing a role that I've been assigned.
That has been life-changing for me. Absolutely life-changing.
Tell us about that.
Well, when I first became a social worker, that identity is who I was, and I would seek power from that. And I would seek power in my career. But I didn't set it down when I left. So it's kind of like drinking. It's like the more I got, the more I wanted. The more I got, the more I wanted. And at some point, it took the place of God. And found myself not able to satisfy that desire and that need. And I don't know, things got kind of insane and crazy. I moved to Wichita Falls. No, I destroyed relationships, professional and personal, because that insanity came back. I didn't have to have alcohol in my system to do that. I always thought I behaved that way because I drank, and that wasn't true. I behaved that way because I'm alcoholic. And so today, when I go to work, it is a role that I've been assigned to play. And it's like what the big book says, sometimes I have a speaking part and sometimes I don't. Sometimes the spotlight is on me, and then other times, I'm in the back building stuff for the stage or whatever. But the cool thing about it is when I leave work, that stays there and I'm not bringing that home. But then there's identities when I come home, roles that I'm playing, mom, significant other, 4-H mom, AA person. So those are all different roles, identities, I guess. I think when my kids grew up and when I was going through a divorce, those identities of mom and spouse, literally I could feel something dying. I mean, there was this sense of grief because there was a part of me that was dying because I had identified with that so much, like that's who I am. But it's not who I am. Is that a life driven by fear that clings on self-love? Maybe subconsciously it's based in fear. I've been raising kids since I was 19. So the thought of not having that identity and that role as a mother, I don't even know what that's like. I've never experienced that. It's probably sincere in that. Yeah.
So it's all like a role. It's all like.
The real question is, who are you? And I had to ask myself that, who am I? If you take away these identities and you take away these roles that I play, who am I? Who are you? Tell them. I'm a child of God. I am. But it took 20 years to answer that in this program.
And there is real peace in that,
There
and
is.
just not having to be anything, out here, it's gonna be good at times and it's gonna be a shit show at times. It just is. And when you get a divorce, there's, husband needs a wife in order to exist. If he don't have if she leaves and you get a divorce, that part of you is dying if you're attached to that role or to the degree you're invested in it. It doesn't mean it's not going to be painful if you got the wisdom to know that's not who you are. It's going to be painful because you are invested in it, unless you're what do they call those people? Psychopath, sociopath, or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
All of it.
I said those people, not me. Well, not in the role you play. You're playing that role. If you go to work, you play a role, and you're to play that. But I'm not gonna. The objective is not to have to bring that into my next role. When I go home, I'm, running a business here, and you don't, you see what I mean? And then I go over here, and yeah, well, you don't. I've got the businessman. I've got the husband or the boyfriend at home. I've got the parent role, and then I go over here to AA, and I'm trying to run all of that shit with all of this going in my head, and no wonder we don't have any peace.
That needs discernment and fair in my business practices and how to treat people kindly. And I carry that vision across the board.
You're talking about your soul, not your spirit. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, that's not necessarily wrong, but when I guess it's like, we do the third step and I do the third step and the seventh step prayer because I'm offering myself, to my higher power because he's sharing is what runs the show. I'm the agent. And if I keep that dynamic,
Yes.
that's the objective.
How do you what's a question you could ask yourself to keep that dynamic? What's a statement you could tell yourself? I chose this. I don't give a shit what's going on. I chose this. I chose this. Because you know what? As long as I didn't, there's nothing I can do. And our inventory should be chocked full of where I chose this. Maybe the way I was raised, maybe the culture I grew up in, maybe the shitty childhood or the really good childhood or however it is. I need to understand I chose this, and I need to find out how I chose this. That puts me in the correct relationship. soul and a spirit. I have to refer to this
slide.
thing here because I got it. The spirit is spiritual discernment, peace, and revelation. The soul is self-identity, personality, character, emotion, intellect, will, conscience, and evil. Self, emotion, intellect, will, conscience, and evil.
Is that evil?
Yeah. That's the outer man. The outer man is the soul. I found it. I don't remember where.
Send me a screenshot of it. But if there's only one power, and that one power is God, then how can there be evil?
Well, the outer man does some pretty evil stuff. I don't claim to know all of that, but I do know that when I take an inventory, there's an identity in there that is a mind-made sense of self that I need to find because it's false. It blocks me. It makes me play God.
Did you send it?
Didn't I? See if I can find it again. So.
Where are you referencing that from?
It's something I found from a book that I read. I don't even remember the name of it now, but I thought it was pretty accurate. Does anybody have any experience with that? With carrying around a mind-made sense of self?
Is it soul?
Hmm?
Is it evil in the soul?
Is it evil is in the soul?
Yeah. Well, that's what this thing says, and I think that's where it comes from. I don't think it's in my spirit. I don't think I have evil spirits. What's that? Hmm? Hmm? We're getting way off track here. The important thing is does my inventory, do I understand my stage character? And did my stage character write that? Yeah.
Is that that third step decision, that on your face decision, that I am fucking doomed decision that you made from step 1 to step 3 that just says, just anything, just not me, right? Is that who's writing the inventory or is it somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, God, I wish that sponsor would get off my ass. Let me write this thing down.
Get it on paper. Oh, she's gonna like that when I write that. She's gonna like that. Oh, they're gonna think I'm so spiritual. That's one reason for following the format. Follow the format, because I can't, or I have much more difficult time manipulating it to make me look like I want to look. If I go down the columns, I make the list. Here's what they did. Go down with each one. Finish the second column, then go to the third column, finish the third column. It's much harder to manipulate. If I go across, by the time I get over here, he's still a sorry son of a bitch. Change the whole thing.
And then by the time you get to the third column, do you take the time and there's prayer there where you say,
Yes.
God, please help me
Yeah.
see this person as a sick person like me.
Yeah. And he even come up with this format where it's got a column for that, a prayer for that each specific one. So it's a fifth fifth column, actually, before you write the fourth column. And all of this is done in prayer. Let me tell you, there's a huge difference in my inventories that I write from my head and the one that I write from my spirit, where I ask God. When I sit down with a pencil, I sit there with the paper and I say, okay, you know, I don't want to write from my head. I want to write this from my spirit. I want to write this from that place, in that meditation, that place of peace where I invited you in. I want my information to come from there to my head and out here on my pen. Because that's a valuable practice. How do you get faith from in here out here into my life? Do what?
I said, I think you ask for it.
You ask for it. That's right. You know, most of the time I think, well, shit, I know all about this. I'll just, you know, I'll just do it my way. And I don't ever wind up with anything productive out of that. Okay. Anything else? Anybody have any inconsistencies?
Just
that-
clarify that again, when you do the column vertically, I've changed the whole story, but when I write it.
No, when I write it across, I take this resentment, John, he stole my money, and I write the third column, and then I write over here to the fourth column, and then I go over here to Brent. Don't do that. Go down the column. List of people. Take the first name off, put it on a piece of paper, do a second column for everyone on my list, then do a third column, then do a fourth column. Does that make sense? Is that what you're asking?
I always attributed it to like how I'm supposed to write. I will not talk in class 200 times. I'll just write I all the way down. Will
Yeah.
not. I wrote it one time. 50
Yeah.
copies.
Yeah. But this
You
one,
can tell I did it that way because it doesn't. line
this
up.
one also is gonna, you know, you're gonna consider this carefully of why it is that the world dominated me, but what was because of this damned identity that I'm trying to protect, that I'm trying to hold on to. I'm trying to keep this stage character going, and I'll defend it with my life, and it's not even real. It's not even real. It's like, and you know what else? Nobody gives a shit but me. If I'm the most fantastic whatever, nobody cares but me. And here I am, you know, betting my whole life on that. And this is not when I came in. This happens when I got sobriety. Years. Yeah. Okay, psychologists are inclined to agree with us. We have spent thousands of dollars for examinations. We know but few instances where we have given these doctors a fair break. Yeah. Have you? Yeah, anybody ever do that? Go in there and lie?
I never asked.
Well, even if they do ask that,
If you're honest, you have to talk to more people.
yeah. Generally,
Pretty white
the problem is they, even if you do get to some real truth, they don't have a place for it. We have a place. No, that's not all. I mean, I've been with therapists that they do it on a spiritual basis. They understand these 12 steps, and that's a different deal. Actually, you know, I don't think I've ever been to one that didn't understand it. No, because, well, the first one I was sent to, the psychiatrist that I was sent to see if they were going to lock me up, you know. I mean, he asked how much I drank, and I said, well, what's that got to do with and my bills? And, you know, so it wasn't like some big secret. And thank God he had the good sense to say, you know, call these people and don't come back here. Don't come back. I can't help you. I can't dedicate the kind of time that's going to take to get you unraveled like they can. You know, Dr. Brinkley. Uh,
There we are.
yeah. Yeah, he was gonna, I thought it was just a small problem. I didn't know it was gonna be a way of life. A small problem. We have seldom told them the whole truth, nor have we followed their advice. Anybody ever do that? Or follow their advice and say, see, I told you it wasn't gonna work. Unwilling to be honest with these sympathetic people. We were honest with no one else. Small wonder in the medical profession has a low opinion of alcoholics and their chance for recovery. We're losing them by the minute. We must be entirely honest with someone if we expect to live long or happily in this world. Does everybody in here have somebody that they can be completely, entirely honest with in their life? Yeah. Is there anybody that can't? That's a huge, huge plus. I didn't even, well, I didn't even know what it meant. I thought I did. I thought it meant I didn't cheat you too bad. Rightly and naturally, we think well before we choose the person or persons with whom to take this intimate and confidential step. Anybody in here take more than one fifth step at a time with different people?
Yes.
You find value in that,
Did you find value in
do you?
it?
Yeah. There's a real benefit to that. Yeah, do it with your therapist, do it with somebody from AA, do it with somebody of the other gender, if you know, for the appropriate parts.
What's the benefit?
They have a different perspective, every single one of them, and then every time I share that, it becomes real to me. The truth, the honesty gets more real.
When does it cease being confidential?
Do what?
When does it cease being confidential?
Well, if I'm coming to a meeting and I'm sharing my fifth step, then it's probably not confidential. But I want to share it with people who know what I'm trying. And it's fixing to tell me. We want to share it with people who know what I'm after here. This is not a confession. That's not the purpose of this.
Although you can't.
Oh my God.
Thank God.
Part of it, to say it's not a confession, it is. I mean, it is a confession, but that's not its real objective. It's not just to dump it. I need to learn something about what I'm up to and what I've been doing and why. You know, not so that I can do something different, but I know what to turn into God, turn into this power greater than myself. Does it make sense? Yes, surrender that, what's going on with me. And actually, it's even the fifth step promises are going to say we know our Creator better. Those of us belonging to religious denominations requiring confession must, and of course will want to, go to the properly appointed authorities whose duty it is to receive it. And I think there's value in that. You know, this was written back when AA wasn't very many people in AA. It might have been a little harder to find somebody. Though we have no religious connections, it still may do well to talk with someone ordained by an established religion. Um, Maybe not Reverend Warren. Just come to mind. Maybe so. Maybe your guy. Though, let's see, we often find such a person quick to see and understand our problems. Of course, we sometimes encounter people who do not understand alcoholics. If we cannot or would rather not do this, we search our acquaintance for a closed mouth, understanding friend. Perhaps a doctor or psychologist will be the person. It may be one of our own family, but we cannot disclose anything to our wives, our parents, which will hurt them, or your fellow members of AA and make them unhappy. We have no right to save our own skin at another's expense. Such parts of our story we tell to someone who will understand, yet be unaffected. The rule is we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Notwithstanding the great necessity for discussing ourselves with someone, do you believe that it's that important, that it is vital to us? It may be one is so situated, there's no suitable person available. You know, one of the things when I finished inventory, there was this thing in me, it's just like a sense of urgency to do that. It's hard to explain, but it's like I don't know, I'm anxious to get to it. Especially if I've been thorough in my inventory. I know living on the ranch down there, I couldn't always finish that and go talk to Carl, you know, I just had to wait until I got to go to town. So if that is so, this step may be postponed only, however, if we hold ourselves in complete readiness to go through it with it at the first opportunity. We say this because we are very anxious to talk to the right person. It is important that he be able to keep a confidence, that he be fully understand and approve of what we're driving at, that he will not try to change our plan, but we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. Has anybody ever had somebody try to change their plan? No? I mean, about a fifth step.
You mean like not to do it?
Yeah, either not to do it or its purpose. If it's a confession. You know, the plan here, I want to remind myself, the plan is I can't make me better. This is an exercise in powerlessness, and I can't get rid of the things that block me from the power that I so desperately need.
I mean, not me personally, but I have seen where fourth and fifth steps could have legal ramifications. And so people are hesitant to do that. So, I mean, yes.
Well, not to do it, but to do it in a correct way. I've seen that for sure. Let's see. But we must not use this as a mere excuse to postpone. When we decided who is to hear our story, we waste no time. We have a written inventory. That's important. We're prepared for a long talk. That's important. You need to set aside the time to do it. I've had to listen to for some fifth steps. It took 3 days, and I don't mean part days either. I mean, it took forever. And you know what? I didn't need to hear that, but they needed to share that. And so it's my my good fortune to be present for it. We explain to our partner what we're about to do and why we have to do it. Do you know what you're about to do and why you have to do it? No? Yeah. We'll drink again if I don't do that. Yeah. So here's why I have to do it. Not only might I drink again, but the way that's going to happen is I'm not going to, the things that block me are not going to be cast out. He should realize that we're engaged upon a life and death errand. Most people approached in this way will be glad to help. They will be honored by our confidence. We pocket our pride and go to it, illuminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once we have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but we now begin to have a spiritual experience. Well, that's pretty powerful promises right there. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. Does anybody want that? Is that something you're interested in? We feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. That they're describing their experience after they had taken this fifth step. And in varying degrees, that has happened. Always remember too, you only get to take these steps for the first time once. This withholding nothing, some people in the very beginning ask, what is it that you're not going to tell me? Let's get that out of the way. Some people will wait till the end of it and then say, hey, is there something that you need to share that's going to get, that you're trying to hang on to? Some gay experience or whatever it is. Get rid of it. It's not worth killing yourself over. No matter what the hell it is. And I've done it both ways. One of the most effective ways for me that in my experience is once they have finished with the fifth step, I will ask them that question and I'll ask them to go into meditation and sit with it for a little bit and see what comes. And then when I come back into the room, tell me what it is. If you're holding on to something that you need to share, then share it. It won't go any further. And shit, it's usually trivial anyway. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't to me. I had things that weren't trivial to me. Shit that happened to me that were, golly, that's huge. It threatened every piece of my being. And I certainly didn't want to tell somebody. I just wanted to push that back, that ain't important, but let me tell you, it is important. It's really important that I don't withhold anything, that people know me. Now, the last part of step 5, it says, returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour. And returning home could be, it doesn't mean necessarily your house. Well, I got to go to my house. It's just 1,000 miles away. Returning home means returning home. Carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our hearts that we know him better. So I just dumped, told somebody our whole shitty past and our whole inventory, and we know God better. Isn't that a miracle? Taking this book down from the shelf because they know it's on the shelf. You hadn't been reading it. We turn to the page which contains the 12 steps. That is page 59, I think. Yeah, 59. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we omitted anything. One, we're powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable, and we can attach that to a part of the book. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We've got a part of the book that addressed that. And I can ask, have I been thorough there? Have I been willing to let go of what I believe for a new experience? Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. Am I willing to do that? Did I take a third step prayer? Do I understand the relationship that they're asking me to take with this power greater than myself? Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Yeah, do I have the inventory? Obviously, I'm at a step 5. Was I thorough in that? Admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. One of the things that comes from a 5th step that's been most effective for me is when a sponsor or whoever I'm sharing that with is writing down the harm as we go. They're making a list of especially the ones that are easily forgotten. I say one of the things that's been really helpful is when I share it with someone, they're making a list of people I've harmed and how I've harmed them. Does that make sense? I mean, and it's not that they can't go back and find that, but almost invariably when I make an 8-step list, there's some things they have written that I don't have.
Is that an indicator that they omitted some things, or is that an indicator that more things?
Well, it's an indicator that I'm reading it to them for one thing, so they have an objective view from over here, looking at it this way. At least they see it from a different place. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything. For we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? So I need to ask that question. Is my work through these first 5 proposals, is it solid? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skimped on the cement put into the foundation? What are they talking about here? Page 17, it talks about the cement that binds us, a common problem, and a common solution. There's 2 elements to that cement. On page 47, the cornerstone is fixed in place. That willingness to believe. And page 62, that relationship of actor, director, principal, agent, father, child, that type of relationship. Page 62. And we tried to make mortar without sand. And then for the first time in this whole process, it asked me to use my own judgment. Can I answer to my own satisfaction? Am I satisfied that I'm at step 6? Does that make sense? Any comments or questions?
Still on 97 there.
No, because we're not there yet. So I think it's really important to take that hour to do a returning home, to address the first 5 proposals, and I can do that more than once. I can do that 3 or 4 times before I go forward. This is a rallying point where I need to make sure that I've been complete up to now. And I need to use my own mind. Up to now, they said, well, we know what you think. You're crazy. Do this. And they said, do this, now do this, now do this. But now they're saying, okay, won't you use your own judgment? Are you really here? Any question? Comments? No? Why don't we stop there? If that's okay with everybody.